Alright guys, welcome to another video. This here's Dave and this is his 2018 Honda Civic Type R. It's crazy for me to be saying that because this is the first time that we've gotten the Type R Civic in the US, and the last Type R of any kind that we had in the US was the DC2 Integra Type R, and that was discontinued 17 years ago. So this is actually a pretty monumental moment because it just represents everything we as Honda owners love about these Type R cars. They're just so hardcore, they're so driver focused. Tell me a little bit about like why did you even buy this car? Because you used to have the S2000. I'll post a link to that up here, the track prepped one, but this is, you know, a totally different car. So why did you go with this?
I went with this because I wanted something that was functional as a daily also, and also as a track car.
So not just a pure like hardcore track car, but something you can actually daily every day.
Yeah, so I have the NSX also, so at times we had two cars that were daily functional cars sitting in the garage.
Both super impractical.
I love the track, you know, we hit the track together all the time, so I need to get back on the track, and I needed something to be functional for work. First
driving impressions at low speed, even though we're not even in comfort mode, we're in sport mode right now, this thing rides so well. The dampening is really on a completely different level to anything that Honda has made in the past in terms of their performance cars. I can't hear any squeaks and rattles on this thing. You know, a lot of my videos, you hear those squeaks and rattles come across on some of the older cars I review. This one, I think the audio is going to turn out pretty well. Now that being said, in terms of audio, since we're on that topic, this car almost makes no sound whatsoever from inside the car with that center tailpipe that's actually bigger than the ones around it. Apparently that's actually to kind of silence or reduce some of the sound at high RPMs. And the result is a car that does not sound like your typical like VTEC Honda. It's really muted, and you can't really tell it's a performance car just from listening to the engine sound from inside. So speaking of the modes, comfort mode, basically that affects the dampers, the steering, and the throttle response. It softens all of them, right? And then sport mode, you said it pushes everything up to about 70%.
Yep, plus R mode gets you full throttle response and full steering input. It's a lot quicker, the steering inputs, and the suspension stiffens
and the dampers too.
Us in our S2000s, it was
always
one mode. It's always race mode.
Race mode, yeah.
And driving around town in race mode all the time
can be a little bit of a pain.
Yeah,
for sure. All right, let's start pushing a little bit and see what the new Type R is all about.
So you're in sport mode.
Holy crap, torque. That is not something I'm used to with Hondas.
Mid-range torque, and the exit speed out of the Type R is so much faster than the S2000.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to rev it as high.
There is a little bit of lag around 3,000 when you really put your foot down. You wait for a split second before it really starts boosting up.
Yep. Honda came out with a tune to get rid of all that.
Okay. I'm sure that's really easy for them too, because now that you're doing with turbocharged engines, you can adjust so many more factors. Nice turn in. Very little torque steer. There is a hint, but it's really barely noticeable at all. You know, Honda with this car, they very cleverly designed the front suspension geometry so that the steering axis is separate from the damper travel axis. The whole idea there is to eliminate or almost completely eliminate torque steer. And I have to say it, for the most part, it seems to be working. Even with 306 horsepower, and what's the torque number, like 290 something foot-pounds?
Yeah, 290, 295.
Yeah, this thing surprisingly goes straight when you put your foot down.
I think that's where you feel that it's front-wheel drive when it goes over
a bump. It skips.
It skips.
Yeah. It doesn't turn in as quickly as an S2000.
Yep.
Even with that super quick steering ratio, you just don't get that ability to change directions as eagerly as the S2000.
Yep.
That being said, the overall grip levels are probably comparable.
Yes.
Also, just mid-corner, the car just feels very, very balanced, very neutral. You can actually adjust it on the throttle, which is kind of reminds me of the DC2 Integra Type R in that regard.
Yep, but you still have one more mode to go. So
race mode, right?
You got to go back down.
Yeah, let's turn around here. The dampers just feel really, really high quality. Like they kind of feel like a factory Öhlins setup.
I love the brakes.
Oh, the brakes are great too. Yeah,
Brakes are-
good point. Something I wasn't talking about,
Yeah.
just because like it's not a problem. Like
Yeah.
it just works when I press the pedal.
Yeah, the Brimbos are really good.
They're like 4 piston up front, aren't they?
Yeah, 4 piston up front.
While we're waiting to get back to the fun part of this road here, let's talk about the styling for a minute, because that is like a very controversial topic. And I will say, admittedly, even though I'm a big Honda guy, when this car was first announced and some of the initial pictures came out, I was like, that thing is ugly as hell. All the scoops and the vents and the big aggressive wing, I just wasn't about it. But then when I saw this car in person for the first time, I think it was Steven's car I saw at Laguna Seca.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, this doesn't look that bad at all. I think it's the angles from where the camera takes the pictures, but in person it kind of just works, and it looks aggressive, but in a good way. Like it is kind of boy racer, but not nearly as bad as I thought from the initial pictures.
It's not a photogenic car.
It's not. It's really not. Yeah,
not
you're
like
right.
the NSX or the S2000.
Yeah. Parked next to my E39 5 Series BMW, this is actually the higher car. It looks wider. It's even maybe a little bit longer. For sure, the back seat's a lot bigger, because I did that comparison earlier. When I'm sitting here, I feel nice and low. The bucket seat hugs me really well. All right, let's turn that R mode. Yeah.
So everything turns to red.
To
with the
red. Ah,
dash.
yes. Perfect. So a little bit of lag there. This thing is fast as hell.
The torque makes me giggle.
The torque is... If only it made a more exciting sound, but I'm sure an aftermarket exhaust can
It's
fix
coming.
that. It's coming, all right. Music to my ears.
We're all tuners at heart.
Oh yeah, we're all tuners. We're all racers at heart. Why else would we buy a Type Rice? Let's see about the uphill acceleration. I'm curious.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep, you're right. It is great. It keeps pulling. I really like the shifter too. It really feels like an S2000 shifter.
It does.
It's one of those comparisons I make in every damn video I make, but like seriously, if there's any new car where it's worth comparing to the S2000, it's gotta be this one.
Yeah, I don't miss my S2000. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh no!
All the S2000 guys out there, I'm sorry,
Oh.
but you got to jump into Type R, and
It's
you'll
one
see
of
why.
these. Hell yeah! A little bit of wheel spin. Super easy to heel toe this thing also.
Yep.
Great turn in. There's like no torque steer in second gear.
Nope.
That's crazy. There does seem to be just a little bit of rev hang, but it's like really barely noticeable.
Yep. It's weird to hear the wastegates open and close on
Yeah,
a Honda.
that is such not a Honda thing. I'm really impressed by this thing.
You go through this pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean that's the section of road that I know really well.
Yeah.
So
And the dampening's on a different level.
yeah, even in race mode, most cars that have adaptive dampers, when you put it in that most aggressive mode, the ride quality just goes to shit. But this car, I can actually still push it. Besides that little bit of wheel spin at the top of first gear, I didn't experience any wheel spin throughout the rest of that section. It's pretty crazy.
We got to get on Laguna Seca and get you to the session.
Oh my god, that'll be great. I'm sure a lot of people would love to see that too.
Yep.
So, okay, so if there are a few things about this car that I wish were better, the steering could be a little bit more feelsome, I guess is the right word. That being said, in this age of electric power steering, it's really one of the better ones I've tried. The sound, obviously, that can be fixed, hopefully with an exhaust, maybe like an intake or something to open up that induction noise. Right now, it really just sounds like not even a lawnmower. I mean, a lot of people say, lawnmower to describe turbocharged 4-cylinders. This just sounds like a hair dryer. It's not even a lawnmower. It doesn't even sound as good as a lawnmower. That is pretty much it as far as the cons go. I know
I
the
would
styling.
add the navigation unit.
Oh, okay, the navigation unit. That's not something I typically talk about in my reviews because I just honestly don't get
Yeah, well,
a
you have
damn, but
if you daily it, right?
Yeah.
The climate control
I'm sure that can get annoying.
is annoying.
Okay, so the fact that you have to press a button for climate control that then pulls up something on the touch screen where you have to kind of fidget around to make sure you don't hit the wrong thing, that's really annoying.
Yeah, see?
Every car should have dedicated climate control knobs. I mean, that's the way it's been for like 50 years. Why change that now, right?
Yeah.
But that being said, I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
This car is about the performance, the driving pleasure, and this thing has that in spades. It pulls pretty hard to 7. It doesn't really die off. So there is torque steer. For sure there is torque steer. I can feel it even in third gear, you're right.
I told you.
Yeah. It's funny because I don't feel it so much in first and second, but in third
gear,
I actually feel it. I wonder if Honda like uses the ECU to electronically limit the torque in first and second gear. I wonder.
Maybe. There's some kind of voodoo magic with this car.
Yeah, there's definitely some voodoo magic.
Like that turn in right there on a regular front wheel drive, it would understeer that.
I would have gone off the cliff by that point. This thing could really use a tune though. In the mid-range, it's not as responsive as I'd like.
Yeah.
The engine. I've driven the Ford Focus RS, and I've driven the Mark 7 Volkswagen Golf R. Both of those cars, on paper, compete pretty well with this car in terms of intended purpose, overall performance, 0 to 60 times and all that, and price, obviously. The Focus RS was the first one I drove out of these three, and I was really enjoying that car overall because it had all-wheel drive. It didn't understeer too badly in the canyons. It felt pretty neutral. I actually got it to oversteer slightly, which is a pleasant surprise. But some of the driver controls, the shifter, the steering, the seating position was way off. Some of those little things just made the car perform really well, but it wasn't as pleasurable to drive. Then when I hopped in the Golf R, the Mark 7 Golf R, that car was really, really, really easy to drive fast, and the dampers were really good, and the car was really comfortable, but it didn't have that raw, kind of hard-edged factor that really made you feel like you were driving like a sports car. It really just felt like a very refined, fast hatchback, which is what it is. And if that's what you want as a daily driver, that's a great choice. But this car kind of combines some of the best qualities of both the Focus RS and Golf R together. So it has the more hard-edged, raw performance nature of the Focus RS, but then it combines that with some of the comfort and like daily usability and the better driving inputs of the Golf R. And I would say the driving inputs on this car are even beyond that of the Golf R. I'm sure they benchmark all of those hot hatches from other manufacturers and really took some of the things that they like from all of them, and Honda really hit a home run with this thing, in my opinion. But I didn't expect it to feel this easy to drive and like comfortable. And that's the thing that really, I think, sets it apart. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons you bought it, right? Yep. And I picked the perfect road to test this car because it's bumpy, it's tight. There's a lot of tight corners where like a typical front wheel drive car with 300 plus horsepower would just understeer into oblivion or like just blow the front tires off, but this thing doesn't do any of that.
Inspires confidence.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, yeah. That's quick, man. This is a properly quick car. And I know you looked into a lot of like the aero design of this car, which is pretty interesting, right? Because there's a lot of front aero elements.
There's a front aero, so I think some of the first videos that came out with this car were mocking the vents and all the other stuff. The vents are all functional.
Right.
If you open up the hood, you'll see the front bumper vents flowing through the side vents, pushing air out. So if you guys track a lot or set up a car, that's to reduce front lift.
Yeah, so the air goes in the front vents on the bottom of the bumper, right?
And go into the wheel arches
into the
and
wheel
out
well,
to the side.
On the fenders.
On the fenders.
The first impression you have of a car is when you see it.
Yep.
And that like almost automatically puts this preconception of how the car is overall, how it drives and everything. But the fact that so many people could think this car is so ugly and then hop into it and then fall in love with it, like that's a testament to the engineering behind the car.
Well, the car's breaking records worldwide, so...
Yeah, the front wheel drive Nürburgring record, I think it did like a, 743?
Yeah, 743.
Which is like 13 seconds faster than the NSX Type R, the 02.
Yep.
Thank you, Dave, for letting me drive the brand new Honda Civic Type R. I'm so happy this car exists, and I'm so happy that I like how it drives. I wasn't really expecting it to be this good, to be frank. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.